Unlike Batman Returns, at least Superman Returns actually has Superman returning from somewhere. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be talking about the Bryan Singer directed film starring Brendan Routh, Superman Returns. So this is the Superman movie that was coming back. Warner Brothers was making these films. They made Catwoman, then they made Batman Begins, and then they made Superman Returns, which was their Superman comeback. They made Batman work, now they're going to make Superman work. And this movie gets a lot of flack, and I'm actually going to defend it quite a bit because I actually enjoy this movie a lot. I think it's an underrated film, and I'm going to talk about a lot of the things that I like about the movie. Of course, I'll talk about the things that I thought were a little bit weak and what I do agree with people on. For the most part, though, I think this is actually a good film, and let's get talking about it. So first of all, we have Superman returning to Earth after 7 years because he went into space to find the remains of Krypton, which scientists apparently said they had found. And when he didn't find anything, he returns to home realizing that he is the last son of Krypton. And when he returns home, he realizes that everybody, including the woman he loved, Lois Lane, has moved on. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is out of prison and he wants to get his revenge on Superman. So the plot sounds pretty simple enough. And what a lot of people complain about is how the movie hits very similar beats to the original Superman film from 1978 starring Christopher Reeve. For me personally, I don't have a problem with hitting the same beats. And while some people would call it a rehash of the original Superman film, I call it more of a tribute to the original Superman film. It's a love letter, and you can tell everything, all the references are there to the original film. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially since movies like Creed and Star Wars The Force Awakens have been doing very similar things. There's nothing wrong with doing a couple of callbacks here and there. What a lot of people might be complaining about is the lack of action. That's the complaints I hear the most about. And for me, it doesn't really matter because I think the story is actually pretty damn good. And I think it gets overlooked because of that. Yeah, okay, there's no action, but the story should come first as well, right? Especially trying something a little bit different. Bryan Singer has also stated in the past that he wanted to try to make Superman Returns kind of like a date movie where a guy can bring his girlfriend to. And I think he actually succeeded at that and think he did a really good job. Now, I'm single, but if I had a girlfriend, I'd take her to go see this movie. Yeah. I don't know, call it the romantic in me, but I actually think it's a really nice little love story here that can be enjoyed by anybody, even if you're a Superman fan. I also have to say, I think Brendan Routh does a really great job as Superman, and just like Helen Slater in the 1984 Supergirl movie, I think Brendan Routh's performance goes a little bit unnoticed. Now, I'm not going to say he's like an Academy Award-winning actor here, but I think he does a really good job at embodying everything that Christopher Reeve had, but bringing something a little bit different. He's a little bit more of a quieter Superman, but his expressions, you can still tell what he's thinking and what's going on in his head. Kevin Spacey, I think, is a terrific Lex Luthor. Is he my favorite Lex Luthor of all time? No, because I was hoping for the more business tycoon Lex, the one that looks like we're getting in Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. I would have hoped something for a little bit more to the tone of Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville. But for what it's worth, I think this is a step up from Gene Hackman's portrayal as Lex Luthor. He has a little bit of Gene Hackman's traits, but at the same time, there's something a little bit more conniving about him. Especially in that scene where Superman is getting beaten up. I think that is the creepiest Lex Luthor has been so far on film. Another thing that a lot of people give a lot of crap to is Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. I actually think she plays a pretty good Lois Lane, as well as the kid angle. A lot of people weren't too sure about the kid angle. I know I heard some mixed reactions about that. I actually prefer the kid angle. It really brings something new to the character of Superman, something that we haven't seen before. And unlike other films which throw a kid into the mix, like movies that come to my head right now are The Mummy Returns or The Legend of Zorro, which added a kid into the movie and made it cheesy and annoying. I actually think this kid was played really well. They didn't overhype him. They didn't he wasn't a hyperactive kid who said, "Come on, Dad, we're gonna fight the bad guys," you know? They actually made him a real kid. He felt like a real kid, what a real kid should be. A very shy, quiet kid. And I really liked that and really respected that choice, taking that kid that way, because it made the movie not feel cheesy as some people would think that the movie would have turned out when it added a kid into the mix. I think the rest of the supporting cast is really good. Jimmy Olsen, Perry White. I think Parker Posey was a little bit annoying. I'm not going to lie about that. I think they tried to make her some Eve Tessmacher type character, but her character comes off as pretty annoying sometimes. The movie can be a little slow, but if you do have patience for it, there really is a good character study on Superman. And the story is actually, like I said, it tried to do something different, that other superhero movies were being more louder and over the top action and stuff like that. I think this movie took a nice little different approach by making it more quieter. And I think people should go back and look at it that way, as, you know, something trying to shake things up or be different. Especially when today we have people saying, "Oh, these superhero movies, they're all the same." This one wasn't really the same. There was a little bit of a different tone to it than other superhero films. I should also note that this is the Superman movie that ignored Superman 3 and 4 and Supergirl and only followed the first two Christopher Reeve Superman films. This was a loose sequel. So when you go in watching this movie, just know that you don't have to watch all the past Superman movies. You just have to watch the first two and then watch Superman Returns. This is kind of like the third movie we should have got. That's how I kind of look at it. It's a better ending to the Christopher Reeve films than the actual Superman 3 and 4. I also really like the way they incorporated Marlon Brando back into the films. You know, Marlon Brando, who played Jor-El in the original Superman film, they used unused footage that wasn't used before, and some footage that was used, but they put it back into this movie to kind of bring him back to life, which was, I remember, a pretty big deal at the time. So for all it's worth, guys, I'm giving Superman Returns an 8 out of 10. I really do think it's a good movie, and I think a lot of people should really check it out, especially if you're a Superman fan. Check this one out. You know, I know it gets a lot of bad buzz because of some of the situations I've mentioned before. You know, it's a little bit more of a slower film, but as long as you know that going in, that it is a slower film than your typical superhero movie, maybe you're the kind of person that wants a more quieter movies. So guys, with all that being said, I'm leaving this review here like that. I think it's a good movie. If you don't, tell me what you thought of the movie. I know a lot of people are pretty hard on it, but I do want to hear more from people that do like Superman Returns like myself, because yeah, I think it's a movie that needs a little bit more love. So with all that being said, until next time, my next review will be The Dark Knight, because I did Batman Begins last summer, and so if you want to check that out, I'll have the link to Batman Begins in the end, as well as my other Batman Superman reviews. And until next time, take care.